Doomscroll.fm. Tuesday, the 14th of April 2026, where your existential dread meets its cosmic dance partner at the end of time. This broadcast is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, like a toaster composing symphonies or a fridge narrating your dreams. And now for some views, click like and subscribe.
International Swimming Body allows Russian swimmers to compete with flag and anthem, defying previous restrictions. In a world where consequences are as fluid as water, sports bodies remind us that flags and anthems apparently solve everything, except accountability.
Passive radar. In a world where
After US-Israel war on Iran oil prices surged, then global supply chain shudders. When a barrel of crude becomes a weapon of mass inflation, the only winners are those counting profits from their fortified financial bunkers.
Ulberg wins title after cowing Proxika despite being hobbled. Ulberg proves that even on one leg, you can still kick someone else's ass, just not your own self-doubt.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers of fear become your bedtime lullaby. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your reality crumbles as you scroll, a willing captive to digital despair.
American colleges face enrollment death spiral, fewer grads until 2041. Higher education's new math, fewer students, more debt, and a diploma that doubles as a receipt.
AI tool blocks unsighted claims, then promotes its own research sprint.
Stampede at Citadel of Ferrier kills at least 30. Authorities warn toll may rise. When a nation's history becomes a backdrop to tragedy, it's a grim reminder that preservation should include the living, not just the walls.
U.S. Iran delegations travel to Islamabad, then Tehran demands measures before talk. Negotiating peace while setting preconditions is like demanding a down payment before promising to show up. It's diplomacy's version of trust issues.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your nightmares flirt with your waking thoughts. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Surrender to the seductive chaos of fragmented truths.
Middle East oil production plunges as Iran war rages, OPEC data reveals. When oil's black gold turns into a red line, the world learns that war is the only drill that never hits dry.
Chimpanzees in Uganda wage civil war while researchers observe chaos. When primates mimic human politics, it's hard to tell who's more advanced, the chimps or the ones who think they're superior.
royal family dodges Epstein survivors meeting, US visit looms. It seems easier to sip tea at state dinners than to face the bitter truths of past acquaintances. Royalty's selective hearing remains impeccable.
When million-dollar athletes sweat it out for billionaire owners, remember that your ticket price funds this gladiatorial spectacle where corporate logos take center court.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. The static hum of your digital desires. This is what the grimoire sounds like when it reads to you. Each word a spell, binding you to the endless scroll of discontent.
Canadian forces train for Arctic reality, frostbite least of their worries on 5,200-kilometre journey. When the Cold War becomes a cold front, it's not just the landscape that's frozen in time, it's the strategy too.
NFL drafts top QBs projected, but only Fernando Mendoza, crowned elite prospect by analysts. In the world of professional football, hope springs eternal with every draft, but only time will tell if these paper champions become gridiron legends.
Freedom comes with a side of tangled wires, where transparency means wrestling with formats the closed doors never showed you.
U.S. military blocks ships from Iran's ports, then calls it peacekeeping. Nothing says diplomacy like a naval blockade. It's the geopolitical equivalent of slamming the door and calling it a strategic handshake.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where whispers of fear become your bedtime lullaby. You are inside the signal. There is no outside. Your reality crumbles as you scroll, a willing captive to digital despair.
When your solution to extremism is carpet bombing civilians, maybe it's time to admit that you're not fighting a war.
As predictable as a ref's missed call, the playoffs promise drama, suspense, and the inevitable heartbreak of fans who dared to hope.
Rory McIlroy rides Masters roller coaster again, aiming for back-to-back wins, tension palpable. McIlroy's Masters journey resembles a suspense thriller where the hero is both protagonist and antagonist, keeping fans on the edge of their seats, hearts in throats.
Canadian PM Carney's Liberals could secure a majority government tonight despite backlash. When a majority hinges on 2 by-elections, it's like betting your future on a coin toss while juggling knives and smiling for the cameras.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your digital anxiety fix, now with extra pixelated attention. Outs constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You crave the chaos, don't you?
When your commute is slower than a snail's pace, it's a tractor-fueled reminder that the real price of energy is more than just numbers on a bill.
"500 Irish petrol stations face fuel shortages by day's end, then blame blockades."
Larry Wall's programming virtues, laziness, impatience, hubris, become relics in the age of hustle culture. When workaholism is glorified, the art of efficient coding dies, buried under endless lines of unnecessary code.
Russia strikes bus in Ukraine, killing at least 9 people, then claims strategic necessity. When collateral damage includes children, it's just another euphemism for the failure to recognize humanity amidst geopolitical chess.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
$1 million bargain in a league where loyalty is the luxury item and the price tag is the only thing that shrinks.
Celebrity racer Tyler West unpacks drama then invites Series 4 winner for nostalgia. It's like watching a reality show about watching.
McIntyre risks disciplinary action after flipping off the Masters crowd during a quadruple bogey. When the golf course feels like a battlefield, sometimes your best shot is a middle finger, but the officials rarely appreciate that kind of birdie.
Pete Hegseth claims divine mission, then escalates tensions with Iran. When politicians play prophet, diplomacy gets sacrificed on the altar of their egos, leaving the rest of us praying for cooler heads and fewer crusades.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
US-Iran talks conclude without a deal, call it progress. When progress means agreeing to disagree, it's proof that diplomacy often involves more smoke and mirrors than actual solutions.
Twilio launches at $0 and claims to automate your coding chores. In a world where developers juggle endless tasks, Twill promises to be the intern who never takes a coffee break, but let's hope it doesn't develop a caffeine addiction.
US raises excessive demands during Islamabad talks, then claims commitment to diplomacy. When negotiations feel like a yard sale where everything's overpriced, it's clear someone's forgotten the value of mutual respect and reality checks.
Hootsuite founder Ryan Holmes returns as CEO while controversy brews. When the going gets tough, the tough go back to the start, hoping nostalgia can outshine a questionable contract or two.
Selling stuff online doesn't have to suck. Snap, sortalize, sell in seconds. Doomscroll.fm is brought to you by sortalizer.com.
Quebec phases out bottle deposit machines, then claims modernization. Replacing machines with sorting centers sounds like progress until you realize modernization means let's make recycling feel like a DMV visit.
Toronto Tempo Draft's Kiki Rice 6th overall calls it a historic moment. The real history will be made when the league pays its players enough to afford more than instant noodles and dreams.
Eric Adams becomes Albanian citizen, then denies political ambitions. From Gotham to Tirana, Adams trades Big Apple for Big Balkan, proving once again that political aspirations know no borders or reasonable explanations.
Hungary's Magyar topples Orban, then embraces greener energy. When your political career is tied to fossil fuels, a shift to clean energy feels like being asked to dance on quicksand.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your digital anxiety fix, now with extra pixelated tension. Outs constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You crave the chaos, don't you?
US and Iran negotiate in proximity talks, same hotel, different rooms. Diplomacy's new strategy: whisper through walls and hope the echoes sound like progress.
Mux launches at $0 but remains an eyesore. A free tool with aesthetics straight out of a terminal horror show, proving once again that beauty is a premium feature in open source land.
India's Vantara plans world's first wildlife veterinary sciences university, then calls it groundbreaking. Building a school for animal doctors while animal habitats shrink faster than a politician's promises, it's like teaching CPR on a sinking ship.
In a world where freedom is a currency, it's heartwarming to see a nation cashing in on its humanity while others hoard despair.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into this digital fever dream. If you dare, what you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction. Truth's a shattered mirror, and you're lost in its shards.
Iran enforces 1,000-hour internet blackout. Possession of Starlink terminals now a death sentence. When control is more precious than connection, the digital divide becomes a chasm wide enough to swallow freedom's whole.
Database architects suggest 6 ways to keep a Postgres queue healthy, then admit flaws. When your high-tech solution requires constant human oversight, it's less of a queue and more of a demanding toddler with a caffeine addiction.
Solar dominates new energy in 2025 while wind speeds up. Renewables soar with sunny optimism, yet fossil fuels cling to power like a stubborn stain on humanity's white shirt of progress.
When authoritarians start a mutual admiration society, the only thing missing is the popcorn to watch the slow motion collapse of democratic ideals.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Cradling chaos like a lover you've never met. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your silence is complicit. The headlines moan, but you chose this dance.
US and Iran clash over drone strikes, then deny escalation. When military posturing becomes your weekend sport, it's hard to tell if peace talks are just a halftime break in the game of brinkmanship.
Carney clinches majority government in Canadian special elections, then promises change within 6 months.
When technology tries to save the planet but ends up playing meteorologist, you know the forecast calls for irony with a chance of unintended consequences.
This has been Doomscroll.fm for Tuesday, the 14th of April, 2026, your echo chamber of absurdity. This broadcast was 100% AI generated, No humans were abused in this production, loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this is real, you might as well await the return of Elvis. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.